When you think of luxury performance, a lot of technology, good looks, and also a high price tag, you have to think of Mercedes-Benz. And what we have in today's video is their latest full-size SUV in the GLS 580. It's almost a hybrid. It's also almost an AMG, because until the GLS63 comes out next year, this is as close as we're gonna get. And to explain what I mean by that, we're gonna start under the hood here. So the GLS comes available in two engine alternatives. It's the GLS 450 and what we have here today, the 580. The 450 is a turbocharged 6-cylinder with 362 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. But the 580 has a 4-liter bi-turbo V8 producing 483 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. Now, bi-turbo is what Mercedes pretty much calls a twin turbo, although it's not really a twin turbo, it's a bi-turbo. We're not going to get into all that stuff. Now, you might think when you have two turbos, you would have a lot of power and a lot of torque, and you're right about that. The reason why manufacturers started making two turbos is because when turbos first popped up on the scene, there was a big lag in between pressing the gas pedal and then getting said turbo power. So what they started doing is using two turbos, so you have a lot of low-end torque and low-end power, of course, and then also high-end power and high-end torque. But Mercedes is not happy with just having two turbos and a 4-liter V8. We also now have EQ boost. And what is EQ boost, you might ask? Well, it's essentially an integrated starter generator that sits mounted in between the engine and the transmission. And what this does is produce over 21 extra horsepower, electric horsepower that is, and tons more torque for that short little period where you still have turbo lag. Although it's a bi-turbo, that's pretty much a twin turbo with 516 pound-feet of torque. Because who wants to wait, a few tenths of a second before the turbos kick in? You need electric power during that time, and that is basically what the EQ boost is. So the GLS 580, as we mentioned, is almost, but not quite, a hybrid. It's also almost, but not quite, an AMG. And we'll talk more about that once we take it out on the road. So for 2020, which is the third generation of the GLS, it is completely redesigned. Up front here, we, of course, have multi-beam LED intelligent headlights. We have a new grille, obviously front camera here, two front forwarding sensors. Now from a profile, you can really tell this is a big SUV. And being a 580, you can start at 21-inch wheels, which our tester has here today, but you have the option to go for 23-inch wheels as well. Now, if this was a 450, it starts at 19-inch wheels and goes up to 21-inch wheels. Look at that. It says AMG right there on the wheels. Not quite an AMG, but almost. So as we get to the rear of the GLS, obviously completely redesigned here as well. LED taillights. We got dual tip exhausts. Now you might think that there's tons of room in the back of the GLS, as this is a full-size SUV. It's not really, but that's because this is a third row SUV and the third row is up. But check this out. That's right, both rows are power folding by using these buttons here. So this is for the third row, this is for the second row. You can fold each seat down individually, or you can fold all of them down at the same time. Now, also new for this generation GLS is not this divider right here that you can put right here, is that you can actually put the divider right here if you don't want to use it. So we're going to pull all these down one more time. You see the driver's seat and the passenger seat move as well to get all three seats down, and now you have tons of cargo space back here. And for anyone wondering, the GLS can tow 7,700 pounds. We're actually going to talk more about the seats here in a second, but before we jump in, we'll take a quick look at the key fob here. We got lock button, unlock, the trunk popper, panic button. This is obviously a smart key access fob. As you can see here on each door, you can actually lock the vehicle just by using your thumb, and then you just put your hand on the door handle as long as you have your key fob in your pocket. So we're going to start back here, and new for 2020, the latest generation of the GLS is it comes available with a captain's chair configuration as well at no additional cost. As we can see here, our tester has the bench seat. Also new is that the second row is fully electrical, so you can move it back and forth. You cannot do that in the previous generation GLS. So we get tons, look at this, leg room right here. And this is my driving position, by the way, and I always do this comparison in every car I review because I am in fact 6'2". This is the headroom, the knee room, leg room, tons of space. Now granted, we did pull the seat all the way back. We'll pull it up again. So now the seat is completely up and my knees are barely touching the back of the driver's seat. But we got to check out the room for the third row. Beautiful light leather interior, by the way. So once we're back here, we can pull the second row seat back down again. Oops, that was the wrong way. Now this will be interesting to see what kind of knee room we have back here for a 6'2" bald Swedish guy. And look at that. My knees are not touching. And the headroom is even more impressive. Again, I'm 6'2". I'm sitting in the third row of an SUV, and I fit just fine back here. So yeah, nothing to complain about. And if I want to charge stuff, we got little charging ports here. We got cup holders right there. So to get out, just use this button right here. Push the second row seat forward. I mean, it takes a little while, but whatever. I mean, it's still nice. Although it's a little tight to get out here. So I went ahead and started the vehicle so we can see beautiful ambient lighting that we'll talk more about here in a minute. But also to show you the little display screen that we have back here for climate and so on. You got your own fan speed, temperature, of course, for the second row. You got little mini USB ports right there and the full power plug down here. Heated seats is an option. We got Burmeister sound system. Got a little coat hanger right there, and the moonroof is 50% bigger than the previous generation GLC, so it goes without saying that it lets in a lot more light. But it's time to jump in the driver's seat because we have to talk about the tech. So before we start talking about the tech here, because I know I'm not going to be able to do all the tech complete justice, we'll just glance at this gorgeous design that's in the GLS. Now this design came out first with the GLE that I reviewed last year, and it's, you basically have two handlebars right here, but it also works as just like an armrest, and we have the ambient lighting integrated on each side, and it's just classy. It just looks really good. The door panel here, typical Mercedes, we have the seat controls on the door panel. We got memory settings, we got heated and cooled seats, we have the window controls right here, and one of the coolest features ever, it has cooled and heated cup holders. Now we got the sun visor right here, and if you pull that to the side, you got an extra little one right there. Extremely comfortable seats, and we'll talk a bit more about here in a minute as well. It's just very comfortable in the GLS. I mean, Mercedes, as we talked about in the beginning here.
What can I do for you?
Cancel. We'll talk more about that in a minute as well. Now the brand, because I can't say Mercedes because then the car...
What can I do for you?
Cancel. That's part of this brand's artificially intelligent MBUX, which is the infotainment system. You can basically tell the car anything you want, like, hey, it's cold in here, and it'll raise the temperature, or I want a coffee, and it'll find you the nearest Starbucks or whatever it is. It learns to adapt to your way of speaking, so you can basically talk to the car the way you just speak normally for whatever it is you need. If you need directions somewhere, if you need to find a restaurant, like I said, increase the temperature, fan speed, whatever it is, MBUX can do that. Now it needs to be hooked up to the app to completely work, so I can't really demonstrate that, but since that kept popping off and on here, I thought I'd mention that right away. But before we drive it here, we're going to talk about the tech real quick, and we'll start here with the dual 12.3 inch digital instrument clusters here. Now if we start at this steering wheel, regarding the screens here, this touch button right here controls the screen in front of you, the instrument cluster that is, so you can scroll right here, and then you have all kinds of information. Now the touch button on the right side of the steering wheel controls the right screen, or you do it right here on the touchpad. And there's so much that we can talk about here. We'll cover some of the cool features that it has. So we'll go to comfort here, and I'm using the touchpad currently. So check this out. You can get different types of massages for driver and passenger. Hot relaxing back, hot relaxing shoulder. I mean, you gotta have the hot relaxing shoulder massage. And currently I'm feeling it in between my shoulder blades. That is actually pretty freaking cool. And then you can go to seat comfort, and it has seat kinetics. I don't even know what that means. I know what lumbar means. Side bolsters, seat heating balance. I mean, I remember when it was just a button and it was heated seats and your butt got warm, but now we have seat heating balance here. We'll go up here and we'll take a look at the ambient lighting, and this is really cool. It's got 64 different colors for the ambient lighting, and you can go in here and choose either multicolor animation. We got that, ocean blue, purple sky, red moon. We'll change it to red moon real quick. Now it is currently daylight outside. This would be a lot cooler if it was dark outside. Let's see what red moon looks like. Okay, so this is fire red. Purple sky. Oh yeah, I like that. We'll keep it there. Like I said, 64 different options to choose from in regards to the ambient lighting. Now we got engine performance right here. We'll go to settings, and we have traction control settings. If we want to have the transmission in manual, this is stop and go assist ready, active steering assist, lower when getting in. So if we activate this feature here, the car will lower when it notices that you're walking up to the vehicle, or you can lower and raise it on your own with this button right here. Now this is Mercedes aromatic suspension. Check this out. So depending on what ride height you want to have in your GLS, you adjust that right here. As we scroll down here, we got lane keeping system either off or on. We're going to keep it off for this video here. Heads up display. This vehicle has an absolutely amazing heads up display. The resolution is just out of this world. It is fantastic. It also has an automatic car wash mode, so you can go maximum 12 miles an hour. Now I haven't tried this, as this is a dealership car. I'm not going to drive it through a car wash, but yeah, now you know about that. With such a warm and beautiful smile, it wasn't hard for me to know. Stereos are never easy to do justice in a car review, because first off, you can't play music on the radio because then you get demonetized. Secondly, you just can't do the audio justice. This Burmeister system is probably one of the best ones I've ever experienced. It is phenomenal, really, really good. Now we can sit and talk about the technology all day long, and like I said, I'm not going to be able to do this complete justice because it is so in-depth and the video would go on forever. But before we take it out on the road here, I'm just going to show you guys a couple more things. The steering wheel in itself is very nice, leather wrapped. Everything that you need to control at the tip of your fingers right here. You got turn signal dial right there, and the gear selector right here. So we got down for drive, up for reverse, push this button right here for park. Now we're going to put it in reverse again, because this is by far the best backup camera or 360 camera I have ever seen. The resolution is just out of this world. It's almost, I mean, it pretty much looks like 1080p. It is really, really clear. And if you go down to the touchpad here, you can change between different camera settings. So this is a panoramic view right here, and we got a 360 there, we got a front camera, some other panoramic view right there. I mean, it is just so in depth. So I think it's time to take it out on the road. We're going to turn auto start stop off, and then we're going to go to the dynamic select button, and we're going to pick sport. Now you can also do an individual mode depending on how you want your GLS set up with suspension, how aggressive you want the transmission to be, and so on. We're going to keep it in sport, although you also have comfort and eco. And this thing is, I mean, it is quick. Mercedes claims that it does 0 to 60 in 5.1 seconds. And as soon as you press the gas pedal, the EQ boost is just instant torque. There's no turbo lag whatsoever. And it's got that nice little growl to it. It's not quite an AMG growl, but it's almost an AMG growl. It's still the bi-turbo 4-liter V8, and it's the power that you need for a big SUV like this, in my opinion. So it's raining and the sun comes out at the same time. What do you know? Oh man, the torque is just instant. That is so impressive. And the GLS has made it to a 9G Tronic transmission, and it's really smooth and quick shifts. I'm gonna put it in manual here though. I'm gonna tap one of the paddles. Pretty slow shifts though when you're shifting in manual mode, which is kind of disappointing for this transmission. I'm sure it's tuned different for the AMGs, or I know it's tuned different for the AMGs, but I figured since this is a 580, if you wanted to really drive it in sport mode and shift on your own, yeah, the shifting would be a little quicker when you're doing it by yourself, but oh well, it's a big luxury SUV. I don't really have to drive like that. I'll just keep it in automatic. Now the ride is just what you would expect from a luxury SUV like this. That's the best way to put it. It is just smooth, it's quiet, get a little growl when you want to, but it's not obnoxious, it's not too much. And one available feature that this tester does not have is Mercedes e-active body control. So as soon as
what would you like to do?
Cancel. As soon as I say Mercedes, it wants to activate this MBUX system. I'm sure you could turn that off. But anyhow, our tester does not have the e-active body control, and that's an even more advanced suspension option for this vehicle. And it actually first came out for the GLE last year, and you might have seen on the internet at some point a Mercedes that was jumping around. It has individual air ride suspension, at least it looks like it, for each wheel. And basically that is an intuitive system that can actually read the terrain ahead of you with cameras and adapt the suspension before you even get to the place where you're going. Let's say it's really rough terrain, or there's speed bumps, or something else is going on. And also if you, for whatever reason, which I doubt many GLS or GLE owners will do, is go like sand dune hopping and stuff like that. If you get stuck, you can apply the system and it'll basically jump itself out of a really sticky situation when it comes to terrain. I mean, it's absolutely awesome for show. I mean, can you imagine just stopping at a red light or something and your whole car starts hopping? Just for fun, it's awesome, but I doubt that a lot of owners are actually going to utilize the system for what it's meant for. No less, the standard aromatic suspension system is just phenomenal. I mean, this is one of the smoothest rides I have ever experienced in any vehicle that I've driven. I mean, it's just like you're floating on air, and I'm not being paid to say this. That's just the feeling that you get when you drive the new GLS. It is just comfort, luxury at its finest. So what does the new GLS cost? Well, if you go for the 450, they start at right over $75,000. If you go for a 580 like this, they start at around $98,000. So it's definitely pretty pricey, but that is what you pay if you want a top of the line Mercedes and also their full size SUV. Now this price can go up towards 115, 120,000 for the 580. Now as soon as the GLS63 comes out this fall for the 2021 model year, I'm sure we'll see another price point. Cancel.
What can I do for you?
Cancel. Thank you. Appreciate it. Mercedes! Oh, she didn't get that one because I yelled at her. How funny. Mercedes! Mercedes.
How may I help you?
Cancel. But man, I'm just so impressed by the smooth and just effortless linear power that this engine has. It's going to be extremely interesting to drive the GLS63 when that comes out, because this, I mean, it feels really powerful. Now I'm sure, again, the AMG, I don't know what kind of power they're going to be making out of that one, but I'm sure it's going to be over 600, just like the E63S. But yeah, impressive. And before we end today's video, I do want to give a huge thanks to my good friends at Bobby Rahal Mercedes in Wexford, outside of Pittsburgh. For anyone that lives in the area and you're in the market, I highly recommend them. I bought 3 cars there myself. They are great to deal with, great sales staff as well. So I'm going to leave all their contact and inventory information in the description below. But I hope you guys enjoyed this review of the 2020 GLS 580. If you did, you know what to do. Give it a huge thumbs up if you're stopping by for the first time, and you haven't already and you want to, please subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.